Ever noticed how the loudest voices in the room often belong to those who know the least? It's a real head-scratcher, right? Why do people with just a sprinkle of knowledge seem to rise to the top, while those who truly get it often hang back, overlooked, or even ignored? It's like the confident but clueless drown out the thoughtful and wise. What's going on there? This is not merely an academic curiosity. It is a matter that has shaped the destiny of civilizations, from the collapse of empires to the downfall of corporations, from ill-fated wars to the rise of cults and demagogues. Humanity has paid an immeasurable price for the triumph of unearned confidence over hard-won wisdom. And it is not just out there in the grand sweep of history. It is in our workplaces, in our families, in ourselves. We have all witnessed it. The colleague who knows little but speaks with bold assurance, while the true expert hesitates, weighing nuances. The friend who declares simple answers to complex problems, while those who have studied deeply struggle to offer definitive conclusions. This paradox is not an exception, it is a pattern. But why? Why does the world so often reward the illusion of knowledge over its reality? Why does ignorance masquerade as confidence, while wisdom so often wears the mask of doubt? Two unsweared eyes must journey through psychology, philosophy, and history, uncovering the forces that bind intelligence, ignorance, power, and self-deception together in a tragic dance. Let us begin with a story that feels like a dark comedy, but is in fact a true case. In 1995, a man named MacArthur Wheeler walked into two banks in Pittsburgh and robbed them in broad daylight. He made no attempt to disguise himself. Security cameras recorded his face clearly, and within hours he was arrested. When police showed him the footage, Wheeler was stunned. "But I wore the juice," he protested. He had smeared lemon juice on his face, convinced that it would make him invisible to cameras, because lemon juice can be used as invisible ink. To him, it was airtight logic. To everyone else, it was absurd. Psychologist David Dunning read about Wheeler's case and was struck not only by the man's ignorance, but by his certainty. How could someone be so wrong and yet so confident? Along with his colleague Justin Kruger, he designed experiments to explore this question. They asked participants to complete tests in grammar, logic, and humor, and then estimate how well they had performed. The results revealed a startling pattern. The least skilled consistently rated themselves far above average. Meanwhile, those who actually performed well tended to underestimate themselves. This became known as the Dunning Kruger effect, the cognitive bias in which incompetence not only leads to mistakes, but also prevents people from recognizing their mistakes. The very skills required to be competent are the same skills required to recognize competence. As Dunning himself put it, if you can't know you're incompetent. This discovery shed light on a problem as old as humanity. The double burden of ignorance. The ignorant are not only mistaken, they are blind to their mistakes. And the knowledgeable, aware of complexity, tend to see their own limits more clearly. Over time, a vivid model emerged to describe the psychology of learning. At first, when someone acquires a little knowledge, confidence rises rapidly. This is the infamous peak of Mount Stupid, where a beginner feels certain they understand more than they actually do. But as learning deepens, confidence collapses. The student realizes the vastness of what they don't know and falls into the valley of despair. Only with persistent effort does one climb the slope of enlightenment, where competence and confidence gradually align. True experts often end up more cautious in their claims than novices, not because they know less, but because they see the complexity. This explains why public discourse often feels upside down. Those who know little speak the loudest, while those who know much hesitate. Bertrand Russell once remarked, "The fundamental cause of trouble in the world is that the stupid are cocksure, while the intelligent are full of doubt." That observation, written decades ago, still feels prophetic today. But let us push deeper. Why does the world reward this misplaced confidence? Why does society so often elevate the voice of the fool over the counsel of the wise? The answer lies in the human craving for certainty. We are wired, by evolution, to fear uncertainty. Ambiguity feels like danger. In the face of complex problems, Economic crisis, pandemics, political turmoil. People do not want hesitation or nuance. They want clarity, decisiveness, and strong answers, even if those answers are wrong. Enter the confident ignoramus, the one who reduces complexity to slogans, who promises quick solutions to deep problems. Their certainty is magnetic. It soothes our anxieties. And so, again and again, history crowns the bold rather than the wise. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. In Prince argued that rulers often succeed not by being virtuous or intelligent, but by projecting strength, decisiveness, and the appearance of control. To Machiavelli, power is about perception, and perception is easily manipulated by confidence. Consider Nero, the Roman emperor, who fancied himself a great artist while Rome burned. His self-confidence was unshakable, even as his incompetence led to disaster. Or Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos. With a black turtleneck and unwavering gaze, she convinced investors, politicians, and even generals that her non-existent blood testing technology was the future of medicine. For years, billions of dollars flowed into a company built on illusion, until the truth finally surfaced. Or more chillingly, Adolf Hitler. His speeches radiated certainty. He offered simple scapegoats for complex social and economic problems. His confidence captured a nation humiliated by war and economic collapse. The result was catastrophe on a global scale. In AHA case, confidence triumphed over competence, at least temporarily. And the cost was borne not by the confident deceiver alone, but by entire societies. Why are people so prone to this blindness? Part of the answer is psychological, part social, and part structural. To judge a skill, you must possess that skill. The incompetent cannot recognize their incompetence. We remember our successes and excuse our failures, reinforcing the illusion of ability. Most people rate themselves as better than average in intelligence, driving leadership an impossibility, but a comforting one. In individualistic societies, confidence itself is rewarded. In collectivist cultures, humility may lead to underestimation. Together, these forces create a machinery of self-deception, one that is not confined to individuals, but amplified by institutions and technologies. Social media is the most striking example. Algorithms reward confidence, outrage, and simplicity. Nuance is penalized. Uncertainty is invisible. The result is a digital landscape where Mount Stupid becomes a global stage, and the loudest voices drown out the careful ones. The costs of this paradox are staggering. In business, overconfident leaders make reckless decisions that bankrupt companies. In medicine, doctors who overestimate their abilities can endanger lives. In politics, voters choose certainty over competence, leading to disastrous policies. Worse still, societies that devalue expertise invite a collapse of trust. When everyone is certain, no one listens. When every voice claims authority, knowledge itself is eroded. Truth becomes a matter of volume, not validity. And when reality finally asserts itself as it always does, the price is paid in blood, treasure, and time. Is there a way out? The Dunning-Kruger effect is, by definition, a trap that blinds us to our own ignorance. But there are paths toward wisdom. Cultivate humility. The three hardest words in any language may be, "I don't know," yet they are the doorway to growth. Seek feedback. Honest criticism is painful but essential. Surround yourself with those who challenge, not flatter you. Embrace complexity. Resist the seduction of simple answers to complex problems. Reality is rarely reducible to slogans. Practice metacognition. Regularly reflect not just on what you know, but on how you know it and where you might be blind. Value experts, but question them. Trust competence, but remember that even experts have limits. Wisdom is not blind faith in authority, but calibrated trust. Above all, we must reframe our relationship with doubt. Doubt is not weakness. It is honesty. It is the recognition that the universe is larger than our grasp, and that humility is the beginning of wisdom. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the theologian executed by the Nazis, once wrote that stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. Evil can be confronted, exposed, and resisted. But stupidity defends itself with sincerity. The stupid person is convinced they are right. This makes stupidity, in Bonhoeffer's view, almost invincible. And yet, he believed, the answer lay not in despair, but in the courage to think, to resist the seductive pull of groupthink and oversimplification, to remain curious in the face of easy certainty. Richard Feynman captured this beautifully when he said, "I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned." That's the heart of wisdom, right? It's all about staying curious, keeping the questions flowing, and even doubting our own certainties. Sure, the paradox of ignorance is here to stay, woven deep into the human experience. But guess what? We get to choose our response. We can either reward the noise or elevate thoughtful dialogue. We can chase after certainty or dive into the richness of inquiry. True progress happens when we celebrate humility just as much as confidence. It's about measuring leaders not just by how forcefully they speak, but by how deeply they understand. So, the real question isn't whether there will always be fools and fanatics, because there will be. The real question is whether we'll give in to the easy allure of ignorance, or bravely walk the tougher, lonelier, yet ultimately nobler path of wisdom. In the end, it's our choice. To dwell in the illusion of knowledge, or to step into the light of truth, however uncertain it may be.